Hey guys, welcome back to Stock Tricks with Nick. Last week, Congress passed a $2 trillion bill late on Wednesday, signed into law on Friday, to help out the economy during the virus. With $2 trillion to spend, there's money going in many different directions, including hospitals, unemployment benefits, airlines, and corporate loans. But what about you? Today we'll be going over the two parts of the bill that affect you directly: the stimulus checks that most Americans will be receiving, and the halt on student loan payments. If you have any questions along the way, drop them in the comments section and I'll get to all of them. And if you find this video useful, please share it with your friends. With increased social distancing measures being put into place, more companies are being forced to lay off their employees because they're bringing in less revenue. Last week, we saw an additional 3.3 million Americans file for unemployment benefits, bringing the unemployment rate to 5.5%, a rate that we haven't seen since 2015. And this only counts the people who were laid off and filed for unemployment benefits. There's a large portion not accounted for in the statistic, the people who were laid off but haven't yet filed. Many people haven't filed for these benefits because they're in fear of coming in contact with other people. And as more people will lose their job, more will tighten up their budget and further slow down the economy. To combat this, the US government is going to be sending out stimulus checks to about 90% of Americans. Nick, just tell me how much money me and my family get. Alright, I get it. First, if you're a single adult who isn't claimed as a dependent on someone else's taxes, making under $75,000 a year, you'll receive $1,200. And if you make more than $99,000, you won't get anything. And every $100 you make over the $75,000 threshold, you'll earn $5 less from the stimulus check. For example, if you made $85,000, you'd be $10,000 over the $75K threshold. So that's 100 hundreds. So your stimulus check would be $1,200 minus $500, or $700 total. To check your income, they'll be looking at your 2019 tax returns. But if you haven't filed those yet, they'll look back at your 2018. If you haven't filed your 2019 taxes yet, and you made over $75,000 this year, I'd hold off for now. Because chances are you made less in 2018. So by not filing, you'd receive more in the stimulus check. The IRS already pushed back the official tax filing day from April 15th to July 15th, so there's no penalty for waiting. To calculate the stimulus for couples, just double the amount and limits. So couples who jointly filed making under $150,000 will receive the full $2,400. Any couples making over $198,000 will get nothing. Any number in between that, you'll get a portion of the $2,400. Also, for every child under 17, couples will earn another $500 with no limit on the number of kids. Unfortunately, for people ages 17 to 23 who are filed as a dependent for someone else, you'll be receiving no money. Next question is, when will you receive this money?
It's my money and I need it now!
This part hasn't been sorted out yet. The soonest date to be floated out was April 6th, but that was quickly deemed as highly unlikely by Howard Gleckman, a senior fellow from Tax Policy Center. He thinks that they'll come in about a month or two. Secretary of the Treasury Steve Mnuchin has the expectation that payments will be out 3 weeks where there's depository information. This means that the money will be directly deposited into your bank account if you've already authorized the IRS to send your tax returns there over the past 2 years. If not, the IRS is going to have to send the checks in the mail, which could take a little bit longer. So to be eligible for this benefit, all you have to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm just kidding. There's nothing you have to do to get the stimulus check, but I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. So fingers crossed that we get this money out to Americans as soon as possible, because as the quarantine goes on, more and more families will need it. The second largest benefit that directly impacts Americans is the freeze on federal student loans until September 30th. According to the New York Times, if you've borrowed money from the federal government as a direct loan, your loan and the interest payments will be frozen until September 30th. Older federal family education loans that the U.S. Department of Education doesn't own are not eligible, nor are Perkin loans, loans from state agencies, or loans from private lenders such as Discover, Sallie Mae, or Wells Fargo. The holders of those kind of loans may be doing their own assistance programs, so make sure you look into that. Also make sure you look into your loan service provider to see if they've stopped the payments. You may have your account set up to pay a certain amount instead of just the minimum, so I would just double check into that. This is huge for people fighting student debt along with a contracting economy. If you are unfortunately put out of work during this time, you will have 6 months to not pay anything on your loan, and it won't affect your credit score, your payment history, or your statement balance. If you're confident that you'll remain employed during this time, but you have other types of debt, such as credit card debt, now's the time to cut back on spending, stop paying off your student loans, and really focus on dropping that debt. You should be throwing any discretionary income into wiping out that high interest debt, such as credit card. Watch this video that I made if you're like most Americans paying the wrong amount on their credit card bill. And if you're employed and don't have any other debt, this still gives you 6 months to pay off as much student debt as you can without it gaining any interest. If you want to play it on the safe side, you can accumulate as much money as you can in an emergency fund. And if you make it through this time while still being employed, you can take that entire emergency fund and pay off as much debt as you can. And this way, there's no difference between the two scenarios. For many, I know that student debt is less of a math problem and more of a habit problem. So if you're less concerned about becoming unemployed, I would just keep paying your student debt consistently. We covered a lot today. If you have any questions like, Nick, help me calculate my stimulus check. Where do I find my taxable income? And I've been paying my credit card bill wrong? Just comment them below and I'll get to each of your questions. Thanks for tuning in to Stock Tricks with Nick. If you learned anything from this video, please like and subscribe to my channel where I make personal finance videos like this and do weekly trading recaps here. See you next time.